AATBirds Weekly Report is the Eagle news, notes, and analysis you need. All about the birds. It's all birds, all the time.
And welcome to another edition of the All About the Birds. We have a special guest tonight, Jeff Garcia, former Philadelphia Eagles quarterback and NFL quarterback. We want to get in on that and absolutely appreciate you coming on, Jeff, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Always love talking to the Philly people. So, yeah, no problem, man.
So the way I want to start off here with you is the aspect of Philadelphia. Your time here in Philly was short, but the one question I do have usually for everybody is the way the city is and the fan base and the way that, you know, basically that 06 season, you coming in and kind of rallying the team to a playoff victory and then in the divisional round against the Saints. And, you know, that season had really basically springboarded your career into that second portion, getting, teams on later. But how do you feel like with the city of Philadelphia and the way that season transpired and how you basically, the impact of that city? Because the video that always gets played in your name, if you put Philadelphia Jeff Garcia, it's the fan. Jeff Garcia is our baby. It's just like,
right.
That's just like you're tied to that.
Yeah. It was a great experience, to be honest with you. I understand the intensity of the Eagles faithful, the Eagles fans. I've seen it as a player playing against them in Philadelphia, and then obviously playing for the Eagles. And there honestly is somewhat of a love-hate relationship in the sense that if you're on the bad side, they're going to let you know it. If you're on the good side, they're going to let you know it, and they'll be faithful and supportive of you. But that season, I think when McNabb went down, I'm sure most, if not all, Eagle fans were thinking the season was over, that it was done. And at that time, when I stepped onto the field, that was the 10th game of the season when he got injured. And we were 5-5 after losing to Tennessee in that game at home. And I think pretty much everybody was ready to write the season off. And I had other thoughts and other plans. To be honest with you, it was difficult to assume a backup role as much as I was supportive of Donovan, tried to help Donovan, push him, be his eyes and ears from the sideline. But as a backup quarterback, which I really hadn't been in that role throughout my career in the sense of beginning the NFL. I backed up Steve Young literally for 3 games, and then I became the starter. I was the starter when I went to Cleveland. In Detroit, I unfortunately had a broken fibula injury in the last preseason game, so I didn't start out that season, but when I came back healthy enough to play, I started. And assuming a role of a backup position in Philadelphia, I did that because I wanted to go to an organization after being in Cleveland and in Detroit, where they were 2 struggling organizations and really disappointing type of places. They couldn't seem to get out of their own way and figure it out. And as much as you think as a player you're going to help turn things around, I found out very quickly that there are things beyond the players on the field that are controlling the problems there in those 2 cities. And I just wanted to go to an organization that had success, that knew how to win, that had continuity with the head coach, with the GM, the front office, all those things. And then obviously the team on the field, having quality players, not only on the field, but in the locker room. And I saw that with the Eagles. I saw the type of leadership they had with Brian Dawkins, with Jeremiah Trotter on the defensive side, obviously with Donovan and Westbrook on the offensive side. There were quality guys there in that locker room. And so I accepted the fact that I was not going to be able to challenge for the starting position, that I would be a backup, but I was going to prepare myself every single day and every single week as if that opportunity could present itself. And unfortunately for Donovan, in that 10th game against Tennessee, he suffered a major injury. It opened the door for me to step on the field. And that was my opportunity to ignite the team, to show what I'm made of, to show my abilities, to show my leadership qualities, and show that I could still play the quarterback position at a high level. And once we started winning after that first road loss against Indianapolis, who would win the Super Bowl that year, so it was a pretty darn good football team in Indy that we played and lost, coming back home for that Monday night game against Carolina and battling that one out, finding a way to win the football game. Obviously, the big interception at the end of the game that helped us by Lido, and just, those type of things that started to now create a snowball effect when we went on the road for 3 NFC East games and swept those games on the road. It was magical when we came back to Philadelphia on New Year's Eve night and played Atlanta. And all of a sudden now we had a chance to win the NFC East Conference. I think fans just didn't know how to react and respond to that. They were just so giddy and happy that all of a sudden they were back in the race. And for me, even though I only had the 1 year there, the fans embraced me. They saw me as one of them. They saw me as a blue collar grinder, tough, mentally, physically tough. I don't back down. I don't stay on the ground. I bounce back up. I take the hit. I keep on moving, keep rolling, and I think they just saw that fighter's spirit in me, which really exemplifies who they are.
Now that brings up a really good point. We've had a couple guests on the show recently. We had Todd Harrimans, and now yourself, and we've asked the same question. Actually, we asked this to Nolan Carroll too to get a defensive perspective. But take us through what it is about Philly you think specifically that elevates the backup quarterback play. That's my first question. And second question is, you brought up being the eyes and ears of McNabb while you were backing him up. Can you take us through how you prepare for that and what you do to help the starter in that time, and then how you're also preparing to be a starter? That's got to be tough to pull double duty there.
Well, I think first of all, with the backup quarterback situation, when you have quality coaching like I experienced with Andy Reid, Marty Morningwig, Pat Shurmur, the quarterback coach, guys that have been in the system for many years, know how to coach it, know how to teach it. We're in that quarterback room, and the expectation is that we're all getting better every single day. And so whether you're the backup, which I know AJ Feely had a little run, Michael Vick obviously stepped on the field when he had his opportunity. Those guys, Nick Foles, those guys, when being coached up the way that we were coached up in the classroom, on the field, preparation through film study, all those things, it's really preparing you for the game-like situations. And as much as you may not be getting the reps in practice, you're running the scout team, you're expected to run the scout team as if you're running your own offense. You're watching the game from the sideline, being completely involved with what the play call is, how you would read it, what the defensive coverage is. So you're constantly in tune with what the starter is doing out there on the field. You're just lacking the physical reps in your own system. That being said, the expectation is that you're preparing just in case anything were to happen. And we're pros, man. We got to accept the responsibility that, hey, we may not always be the guy, but you better be preparing as if you were the guy. Otherwise, somebody else is going to step in and take your spot. And for me, that just meant in training camp is where it started. I mean, it starts in the off season, but when we came to training camp and we were at the university down the road, when I
Baby.
stepped into the huddle with what they would call the number twos, I didn't call us number twos. I called us the 1As. We were a play away from being on the field in the game. I'm not going to accept the backup label, the number two, the second string label. I'm going to say, no, I'm not a backup. I'm not a second stringer. I'm a starter in this league. I am capable of starting, and I'm going to lead like a starter. And that's how I was in the huddle, with my energy, with the way I spoke, the language, which is important. You got to be able to speak it. You got to be able to say it without messing it up. You're an extension of the offensive coordinator. You're a coach on the field. You're a leader in that huddle. And so for me, I took tremendous pride in being that guy and wanting to take advantage of the opportunity. Again, great coaching, guys that knew the offense. Pat Shermer was an extension of the offensive coordinator, Marty Morningwig, for me while I was in Philadelphia. And those were guys that really handled the position and the responsibility with tremendous pride and understanding. And they took Andy Reid's offense and they allowed us to flourish on the field by how they called the game and how we were able to exploit teams.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm ready to run through a wall right now. If I'm in that huddle with you, I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
Now, as far as helping Donovan, part of my assistance to Donovan was just through my own approach to the game, how I watched film, how I talked about our offense, how I contributed to the game plan in our classroom meetings, how I worked out in the weight room, how I sprinted from drill to drill on the field. It wasn't so much what I said, but creating that competition, that competitive environment in a positive, healthy way. It wasn't like, oh, I'm better than you, Donovan. No, it was like, hey, let's go, man. Hey, push each other. Hey, you can make that. Hey, nice throw, Donovan. Hey, great read. Those sort of things, like positive feedback, asking questions. Hey, if he did make, one of the things that Donovan and I would talk about, because he had such a strong arm, that I think that one of the things that he struggled with at times was accuracy in the wheelhouse, because of trying to overthrow everything, trying to throw through guys instead of just like taking a little off of it and just putting some touch and just leading them right in the proper place. Those sort of things, like we'd have conversations about that, because his average throw where he would take something off of the throw was like my bullet, So like, and I throw what I feel is a very catchable ball. It's very receiver friendly, and accuracy and that window of opportunity, where you need to be, how precise you need to be, is so important in the NFL. And like when he's throwing a 6-yard shallow cross, you can't be throwing it at a guy's knees or above his head, because your rocket launcher is coming too fast for them to react. But if you take a little off of it and you put it right in the breadbasket, or if it is a little bit high or a little bit low, they can react better to it, So those sort of things, just having conversations like that. We talked about our weight. I was 185 to 190 pounds soaking wet, and I would talk to him like, hey, Donovan, God, man, you're 245. Don't you think if you were a little lighter, you'd be a little faster and mobile and you get more outside the pocket like you used to when you were younger? He's like, oh, I need the weight, man. I got to be absorbing those hits. And I'd be like, man, I'm 190 pounds. I got to absorb the hits, but like, just like, kidding with each other, like having that sort of relationship where we could jive like that, where we could talk real talk with each other and be supportive of each other. Hey, I was just as devastated as everybody else to see him go down, because I know just prior, either that season or a couple seasons before, he had a serious injury. And so it was kind of like going back down that road for him, unfortunately. But, at the end of the day, it gave me a chance to step on the field. It gave me a chance to show what I was capable of after 2 difficult seasons in Cleveland and Detroit, to show that I still had what it took to be a top tier quarterback in the league and lead a team. And that gave me an opportunity to go to Tampa and lead them the next 2 years. So, it was an opportunity that presented itself that at the end of the day, I was thankful for. I just don't like to see the way those things happen because of injuries.
Yeah, and I think too, and a question I kind of have off of that, when you're seeing the star quarterback goes down and you have to step in, and then you start having success and you get into the playoffs and you have success in the playoffs. And the way I kind of put it is when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2017, Carson Wentz having an MVP season, gets hurt, torn ACL, knee injury, all that stuff, has to have surgery. He's out for the season. Nick Foles, who they had signed, had come back, who was contemplating retirement because, of course, he had some tough struggles after he got traded to St. Louis and then went to Kansas City for a cup of coffee with Andy Reid there. And he comes in and, it was a little bit of a tough kind of adjusting. And then all of a sudden he started to hit his stride, especially in the playoffs. And you go all the way and he goes all the way and, wins it. My thing is when you're a starting quarterback and somebody is taking your role and goes in Carson Wentz's aspect, goes to the promised land and does it, especially for a franchise that had never had a Super Bowl victory, wins that. And then it's just I don't know, all the intricacies of what happened in the locker room. And then the year after and the year after that, he just, he dealt with injury. And of course, Foles came back in 2018 and, they lost in New Orleans. But then in 2019, he gets hurt again, has the concussion. They draft Hurts. And then in 2021, he's traded. And then now Hurts wins it all last year. It's just how you, as a start quarterback, seeing somebody take over and then have that success. And you guys in 2006, the phantom false start call on Scott Young or could have been a different outcome in that divisional round against the New Orleans Saints. And who knows what could have happened in that aspect of that season. But is it tough you think it's tough for a starting quarterback? Because, you were a starter for a number of years in San Francisco. If you had a backup that would take over and have pretty good success, is there a feeling of kind of uncertainty for you? Because I know this game, you're not there forever. You have a short amount of time. Is there anything like that you think?
Yeah, I do believe, and I do believe that affected Carson Wentz. As far as Donovan was concerned, Donovan had such great success. Obviously, 4 NFC Championship games, a Super Bowl appearance, multiple wins, multiple just Pro Bowls. The guy was a phenomenal quarterback in Philadelphia. And so I believe he had the confidence, no matter what happened to him physically during a season, that he was going to come back and he was going to still be Donovan. With what Carson Wentz went through, and I had Nick Foles in St. Louis. I was a part of that staff in 2015. Okay. And to be honest with you, I thought the starting quarterback in St. Louis that year was a decision made above the coaches because of what they paid Nick Foles. I really felt the other quarterback, which I'm drawing a blank right now, came from Houston. I believe he's even spent Case Keenum. I thought Case Keenum ran the offense better. And when he finally did get on the field later in the season, Case put together a 4-game win streak just because he was the better decision maker as far as running that West Coast offense of system. Now, when Nick came back to Philadelphia, I think there were things that were incorporated that Carson Wentz could do successfully, some RPO type stuff that Nick Foles did in college that he was good at, had a better feel for the system. When he did finally step in, I mean, he took it to another level. Obviously, he went on a tear and won a Super Bowl, which was such an amazing comeback for him, especially with where he was, like you said, thinking about retirement, thinking about those things. With him doing that, bringing the first Super Bowl title to Philadelphia, becoming like, hey, the new Rocky symbol, so to speak. That was a lot for Carson as a young quarterback still to deal with, not only overcoming a serious knee injury, now having to deal with the fact that you have a quarterback on your team that just led your team to the Super Bowl. And I saw Carson as being a completely different quarterback when he came back. His decision making was not on point. He was not seeing the field the way he was seeing the field before, because I was watching him on that little tear when he was considered potentially an MVP. The guy was phenomenal. The guy was making plays in the pocket. He was making plays outside of the pocket. He was tough to bring down, making yards with his own legs, making great decisions. When he came back, it was almost as if he started to question his decision making, or he was trying to be perfect so that he wasn't looking over his shoulder. You can't play the game like that. If you start to think too much at the position, you're going to be late on your decision makings. You're not going to be accurate with your throws. You're going to be throwing more interceptions or making more poor decisions, all those things. And that was basically Carson. And it just kind of continued to just go downhill to where I think his confidence and his mental approach to the game just completely got shot, to be honest with you. And it's too bad, because I really thought that he was such a talented young quarterback and was really on a climb, on a steady climb up that mountain to being one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL until that injury. And then obviously it's like pouring salt in the wound when Nick Foles leads your team to the Super Bowl and he becomes the big name in the city and you become kind of the second fiddle, you know?
Yeah, and I think too, like that's massive. And like we thought, hey, it's going to be like Josh Allen at Buffalo, like that type of quarterback, that guy that just like the plays he made, and just like that season was like what you're kind of seeing with the way Josh Allen plays football, and it just unfortunately, never materialized. And listen, it's things happen. Things happen for a reason, and like for them, like them drafting Jalen Hurts was a very eye-opening. Be like, okay, well, what are you doing? Your second round selection. You have so many needs at other positions, because this was in a time when I had started this back in 2020 with COVID and all that. And like one thing that I would say, like going into 2020, into 2021, looking at the roster and looking at the team, like this team needed building blocks. You need these young players to be your next guys, because the Zach Ertz's and the Jason Kelsey's and these older guys, they're not going to be there forever. So you need those next stepping stones to be able to build your future in your franchise, to be able to have a long extended period of success. And then, 2021 onward, they were able to do that. And of course, Jalen was that first piece that we really didn't realize until after that season and then into 2022. And it just seems like every year he finds something else to get better at. It's like everything needs to be, it's that next step that I'm just trying to get better and win games. And that's what it's about. Like you as a former quarterback watching him play, like what is your take on that, on him as a quarterback and a leader of a team?
Well, let me just tell you, first of all, he's got a great approach, very humble approach to the game. He's loved in the locker room, which is important. You got to have guys on your side. And especially when you're battling week in and week out on the field for each other. But let's look at their offense. They have the best offensive line in the National Football League. They have the best running back in the National Football League. They've got great weapons outside with their tight end, with their receivers, guys that can stretch the field, guys that can be possession type receivers, guys that can make plays for you. It simplifies the game for your quarterback when you have a guy like Barkley in the backfield, and when you have an offensive line that just steamrolls over people up front. It creates opportunities for you to run an offense that now you can build off of that run game with the play action, with the movement game, with all those things. I will say this. Jalen won a Super Bowl. He's been to two. He's led the team, helped to lead the team to two Super Bowls. Obviously, defensively, the Eagles were top notch in that Super Bowl and have played great defensive football as well. So Howie Roseman and the front office, as well as Nick Sirianni and his staff, have done a tremendous job of building that team as strong as they are in the trenches with their D line and O line. That's where it starts. And then with the pieces around them and what they've done through the draft and free agency, some of the guys that they've picked up in the draft in later rounds that have been key players. The middle linebacker they got from the Saints, that was a stud last year. The defensive back, some of the guys in the defensive backfield that they've picked up over the years, they just continue to find guys that are overlooked by others, and they come in and they plug them in and they step up their level of play. I'm going to say this about Jalen. He's done it all. He's won a Super Bowl title. He was the MVP, and I'm sure he'll battle and get the team back to being a contender. I know that there's still room for improvement with how he sees coverages and with his timing, getting the ball out. And I could see the frustration at times with some of the receiving core due to the fact that Jalen tends to depend on his scramble to the right to buy more time. There were a couple throws early in the Super Bowl that on the first play of the game, he missed the underthrow because he tried to force the deeper throw. Later in the game, he threw the under, he had the deeper throw. That being said, just being able to recognize coverage, safety location. Hey, is it cover 3? Is it cover 2? Okay, now where am I going to go with the ball based upon my route combination? Those things he can still continue to improve on to where he's now getting the ball out faster. He's getting the ball out on time. He's throwing receivers open. They're not in scramble drill as often as they were this past season. I think if you look at how many times he leaves the pocket when he's not necessarily pressured, but just leaves because he feels like he's got to get out. And most of the time it's moving to his right. And granted, that's on the defense and the failure of the defense to contain him, which you got a quarterback that has ability to move and run. You got to be able to contain a guy like that and force him to stay within the pocket. That being said, I think I'd love to sit down with him and watch film from an end zone copy and talk about, okay, what did you see coverage wise? What did you have as far as your route combination was concerned? What do you want to attack? If it's single high, meaning middle field close, single safety middle, how are you attacking it? If you have cover 2, how are you attacking it? If it's quarters, how are you attacking it? Those are the things that I'd love to be able to sit in there and just see what goes through his mind and how he processes things, because he's got time with that O-line. They do a great job of picking up stunts, pressures, blitzes. He's got the great running back who also is a beast when it comes to blocking, picking up secondary guys who are pressuring. And so, I'd like to see him more throw in rhythm, throw guys open, do those sort of things. But hey, it's hard to sit here and be critical of a guy who's won the Super Bowl. Hey, all I'm saying is there's room for improvement. He's a hell of a quarterback, but you never stop wanting to grow as a quarterback. For me, I always wanted to be better the next day. I was always so self-critical watching film of myself and my decisions. Hey, how the ball was coming out. Was I dropping it too low? Was it taking too much time? Could I be more accurate? All those things. As quarterbacks, we're always observing ourselves and being more self-critical of ourselves than anybody else could ever be.
Yeah, and I'd say that's probably the one thing I don't worry about with Jalen is his mental ability and his willingness to improve and his willingness
Right.
to find those negatives and improve upon them. I mean, he's shown it year after year. So, but
Absolutely.
I don't think you'd talk to a single coach or a single player or a single fan that would disagree that there's always room for improvement. Now, let me ask you a quick non-Eagles question. What was your welcome to the NFL moment, and who was the hardest player or coach that you had to face?
Yes, I think welcome to the NFL moment was we played the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was my fourth or fifth start with the 49ers in my first year with the 49ers, first year in the NFL. And that day was a rainy, ugly day in San Francisco. I think I threw for 39 yards. I struggled all game long. I think I had a passer rating of 0. You know, it was one of those games, and Pittsburgh
It was
always
47,
was.
so a little bit better. You did throw for 39 yards. That's pretty good to know exactly. 7 for 18, 39 yards, and a 47 rating.
Look at you looking it up. That being said, Pittsburgh, I had to face Pittsburgh twice while I was in Cleveland. They were always difficult. Troy Polamalu was a beast on the field. If there was a guy that just electrified a defense and was all over the place, it was that guy. I mean, he just was an unbelievable football player, just in pure understanding of an offensive system, understanding of what his role is on defense, and just being in the spot, like just being in the spot, whether it's great coverage or on a blitz or coming up as a safety for run support. The guy was just an amazing defender.
What a tough time to play against safeties in the NFL. That was such a great time period for Hall of Fame safeties. You had Polamalu, you had Dawkins, you had John Lynch, you had Ed Reed. What a shitty time to be a quarterback.
You're right, man. I met Dawkins. I don't know if you guys remember, but we played him tough the year I was in Cleveland. It was a game in Cleveland. It was like 35-35 until a late field goal. They beat us, I think in overtime, if I'm not mistaken. But Dawkins and I met head up on the goal line, man. And it left a bruise for about the next 5 days on my forehead. I did get into the end zone, but Dawkins was a beast, man. Dawkins, I mean, I loved being his teammate. I hated playing against him, but talk about just such a great man of faith and character, and just a leader through and through, and just represents everything you love about the game of football.
Yeah.
And one thing.
Have you seen the clip of Takeo Spikes talking about him?
I have not.
Where he says, Takeo, I'm going to take his soul. I'm going to take his soul. And he said, what? And then they throw the ball, and Dawkins lights him up, takes this guy off his feet, and he just stands up and says, "Praise God, hallelujah." And he goes,
not Takeo Spikes. It's got to be somebody else. Takeo Spikes is a defensive player.
It was Takeo.
Well, that's Takeo who he was talking to.
Yeah.
He lit someone else up, but he was talking. That's when Takeo played for the Eagles. I think that was in.
God. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to find that one.
Yeah. We'll send it to you. It's
okay.
That's the first thing I think of when I hear man of faith.
And the thing is, Dawkins never cursed. If you listen to his pregame stuff, he doesn't, didn't curse or anything like that. And it's just if you look at his hits and stuff like that, it's just he took Jerome Bettis, set him back. That's a guy, a 270-pound running back, if not more.
Right.
And just Adrian Peterson said that's he was hit the hardest he was ever hit from Dawkins. He was just
Algie
the type of Algie Crumpler lit him up. Just the way he played football, and just that that was my toughest thing, was seeing them let him go to Denver for those couple of years.
Right.
Like, that's just like, I don't know. It's just him. And just, I think also, before we let you go here, the one thing, like, when you hear Jeff Garcia and, the respect that you get and everything. And I remember in 2006, I don't remember exactly, but you wore something on your right hand. It was like almost clear. I don't know what it was. It was like this clear film on the top of your hand. I don't know if you had like an injury or something to the effect of that. And just like, I think it's a lot of people like in Philadelphia, that blue collar, that you go to work every day, no matter what you're struggling with. And you go to the max 100% every single day, no matter how hard it is to get to that 100%. I think that's a big reason that a lot of Philadelphia fans and Eagles fans have the respect that they have for you, because of everything that you put on the line, especially that one season you were here and what you did to get the team into the playoffs after they struggled. And they struggled the year before in 2005 when they didn't really have a backup quarterback, when Mike McMahon was the one that come in after McNabb got hurt, and they struggled. And, it's a big reason that they probably went after a higher end quarterback to be able to be the backup and able to get someone like you, because of the situation that they had in 2005. And you were able to take them to the playoffs. And I believe you guys won a division too, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
We did. Yeah. We did win the division,
Yeah. I wanted to bring that up too. That's one thing I always remember when I think about, that season and everything, and just, Christmas Day game beating the Cowboys and Merry Christmas Philadelphia. You have for one season, you got a lot of like clip and moments and stuff that, will stay in many Eagles fans' minds.
Well, I really felt that bond. I mean, hey, going to Chicky and Pete's after the games and just being there, I've always just looked at myself as, just a normal guy who has like an exciting job, who has a dream job. And I've always been the guy who bonded probably more with the training staff and the equipment guys that are working behind the scenes, who are busting their ass every single day, working more hours than anybody, just because that's the type of guy I was growing up in a small town on a farm. Hey, my dad's a worker, and that mentality, and I felt like that was something that I connected with the Eagle fans,
So I'm going to show this this for you. This is what we were talking about. So this is the Taquio Spikes clip. So let me play it for you.
He was like, Spikes, I'm going to take his soul. And I was like, what? I'm going to take his soul. I want to see how bad he wants to play. They play. They run the crowd behind me. Brian Dawkins.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my goodness. He gets up over him and just say, hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. I don't know what he's on, but I want some before the next game, though. I like him.
Yeah.
So that was the clip on there. But again, Jeff, we really appreciate you coming on, having this chat with us, kind of rehashing some old Eagles memories and, that season, special season you had in Philadelphia. But we really appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm excited for Philly this season, man. Let's go back and repeat and defend the title. And, if they're as a team built to do it in the National Football League, it's definitely Philadelphia, man. Everything's going in the right direction for them, and they got the greatest fans in the NFL. So thank you for the time. Always appreciate the Eagles crew, and man, anytime, definitely.
Thank you. Take care, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
Okay, take care, guys.
This is Matt Ware. Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, aka Fred X. It's all about the bird.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.
All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.